Hello. I hope you're well and enjoying your day. I am Jaime Elizondo from Real World Ranching, and I would like to welcome you to another episode of the Fat Cow's Fat Wallet podcast. I am very happy that you're listening to me today. We should take the time to enjoy life because it goes by so quickly, right? Well, there is nothing like our goals and our family. Have you considered your goals? Where should you focus your efforts on to achieve your goals? And those goals surely include profits because without money, there is no success in our efforts. I want to tell you something that will surely interest you. Stocking rate. By stocking rate, I mean the number of productive animals that you can keep on your farm per year at a low cost. Stocking rate is the factor that most influences the profits of a farm with livestock. Did you know this? That the number of productive animals you can maintain at a low cost per year on your farm determines your profitability? If you do the numbers, your own calculations, you will see that no other factor comes close to the stocking rate in influencing profits in your farm. The winning weights, price per calf sold, and other factors do not compare in importance with stocking rate when it comes to profitability, and this is because the total annual expenses are divided among a greater number of heads of productive livestock maintained at a low cost. Consider this: a farm with 100 productive cows that spends around $40,000 total per year. How much of that will be profits? How much will profits increase if the number of cows were increased to 200 productive cows with a total annual expense or cost of around $50,000? Profits will more than double, since the small increase in annual cost has no comparison with the increase in productivity and sales. And remember that annual expenses are divided by the number of productive animals. This is very important and will help us to make the best decisions and point us in the right direction to focus our efforts. Because sometimes we focus on not so important things and achieve fairly diluted successes. Things like winning weight or price per calf. It's like if we played a space attack video game where the chips come at you, the spacecraft, and each one you shoot down gives you only 1 point, when the mother chip is worth 500 points. So you ignore the small 1 point spacecrafts and go after the mother chip to get those 500 points. Well, this is similar to what stocking rate is compared to other factors that actually distract us from our ultimate focus, maximizing our profitability. And I will add, maximize our actual and future profitability. Remember this, it's very interesting. The number of productive animals you can maintain at a low cost per year will determine the profits on your farm. Productive animals refer to livestock in good body condition, fertile, and in excellent health. What does this mean? Well, when we see a skinny beef cow, not a dairy cow, we know that it is not in excellent health because it does not have good body condition, so it cannot be fertile and productive. Well, we have already defined what I mean by productive livestock. Now, let's talk about the number of these livestock. If you currently have an X number of animals with good body condition, fertile, and maintained at a low cost, what will happen if you double or triple that number? What will happen to your profits? And many will say, my expenses will increase. Maybe I should buy more hay, and that will be more expensive. Others will say, having more cattle is more work, so it will involve hiring more people and paying more in labor. Others will say that by having more animals, I will have to give more supplement, and the winning weights may go down. Others will think, although they do not say it, that the type of livestock they currently have needs much more grass selection, when grazing to maintain their productivity. They need to be more selective graziers. All of these reasons are valid and should be considered, of course. But what will happen if instead of focusing on the objections, we took the time to consider the possibilities? What will happen if we calculated the cost of each of these items per animal instead of per farm? The numbers will surprise you. And what will happen if we double or triple the number of productive livestock that we can maintain at a low cost? Nobody wants to have a lot of livestock in poor body condition, not being productive, right? Give me fatness, and I will give you beauty, the ranchers of yesteryear used to say. Doubling or tripling the number of productive livestock on your farm might cause you to be uncomfortable if you think that this will increase your expenses per year per farm to the same extent. So I will try to ease your pain. It will be true that the cost per animal will rise as much as we would think. Would that be true? Or will it be rather than the annual cost of gasoline, diesel, depreciation of fences, trucks or tractors, labor, and land taxes will remain the same or almost the same by having a greater number of productive animals? If the latter were true, it would mean that your cost per productive animal will greatly decrease as their numbers increases, leaving you with a much larger profit. And that is the reality when we increase the number of productive livestock that we can maintain on a farm at a low cost. Profits soar. This is being achieved by hundreds of farmers around the world. Normally, we start by reducing costs before increasing our stocking rate. Do you think this is a good idea? Now I'm going to tell you about my experience. My farm is in the tropics at sea level near Tampico, Mexico, in the Gulf Coast. A quite difficult environment due to excess heat and very erratic weather in terms of rain. Around 30 years ago, I wrote an article in the local newspaper about how a 30% savings in any area is 3 times more important than a 30% increase in production per acre or animal. I'm going to repeat it. This is very important. I wrote an article in the local newspaper about how 30% savings in any area is 3 times more important than a 30% increase in production per acre or animal. Since then, I have focused on maintaining a high to very high stocking rate at a low cost and without losing productivity per individual. This has been what has allowed me to maintain profitability on my farms under difficult conditions in Mexico since then. So the first thing is to reduce cost. Do you agree? Well, what is the biggest cost per year on your farm? You're going to be surprised at what the expense typically is for supplements, hay, or haylage. Then, in second place, comes the expense of employees or labor, which not many consider since they take it as a fixed expense, but it is one of the largest expenses on a farm with grazing livestock. And I know this because I have had my own livestock farm since 1990. On all the farms I advise and all my students around the world, we seek to increase the stocking rate and reduce cost per productive animal. Well, this means that the first thing we need to do is to reduce total annual cost and cost per animal. We can reduce spending money on hay, silage, and supplements per animal with good grazing management. We can create a reserve of standing hay with a greater amount of leaves for the dry or cold season. We can reduce veterinary expenses by correctly selecting our livestock and better managing our grazing. But to reduce the other costs per animal per year, the cost of depreciation of your vehicle, your tractor, the truck, land taxes, fences depreciation, to reduce the cost per productive animal of wages, we must increase the stocking rate, the number of productive livestock we maintain. First, keep the total expenses per farm per year as low as possible. Then, we will be able to divide that annual cost per farm amongst a greater number of productive livestock. To increase the number of productive animals per farm maintained at a low cost per year, we must implement a grazing program where we manage to double the stocking rate the first year compared to any rotational grazing systems where selective grazing is carried out. Any, and there are many names they give it to them, but they're all selective grazings. But first, I must begin by explaining how, in any rotational grazing program, selective grazing happens, and with it comes a low harvest efficiency where livestock are allowed to select the best and leave the worst behind. In these types of selective rotational grazing, it is impossible to increase the stocking rate quickly enough without causing overgrazing. And overgrazing occurs every time we let our livestock consume very tender and young grasses that have not yet recovered. And this weakens the roots and crowns and is what greatly reduces productivity in our pastures and consequently the stocking rate. To minimize overgrazing, even at high to very high stocking rates, I use non-selective grazing on adequately recovered pastures, where I focus on the highest quality grass for my livestock in the green season and the greatest volume of deferred standing hay in area for the dry or cold season of the year. In the green season, it is very easy to increase the stocking rate, and some sayings talk about how anybody can achieve that. But it is in the dry or cold season where my grazing program really differentiates itself in terms of reducing costs per animal. Then we see that we must change our way of managing grazing for our livestock and implement a grazing program where our focus is on increasing the number of productive animals maintained at a low cost. I have called this grazing program the total grazing program to emphasize that it is more than a non-selective grazing style and more than one grazing event, because we take everything into account, minimizing overgrazing, taking advantage of the green season with its better quality grass for our livestock, getting to the dry or cold season where we use a reserve area of deferred grass or standing hay to reduce our costs even more, plant physiology of the grass to achieve the best results in energy reserves with deep and strong roots, achieve a better leaf to stem ratio to create a better solar panel per each square yard of your pastures. To explain the design of electric fences to maintain a cheap and flexible system for when your stocking rate increases and other relevant things. You must know that by preventing our livestock from consuming the grasses when they are too young, we can increase the productivity of the grass by 3 to 5 times. But what you may not have known is that the strong and deep roots of your forages can increase the productivity of your soil, current and future productivity, by creating more long-lived carbon in your soils, long-lived organic matter, which can last up to 100 years, giving you greater productivity, higher quality grasses without the use of fertilizers. So we know this. There is no other factor that affects your profitability and productivity more than the number of productive livestock that you can maintain at a low cost per year on your farm. And I will add, and minimizing overgrazing. Do your numbers, and you will see that this is true. In the total grazing program, we achieved the highest stocking rate possible while improving the land faster. And I will explain this to you in next week's blog. I hope to have you here next week to learn more about this exciting topic, how to achieve much greater profitability and productivity by focusing on a greater number of productive animals with the total grazing program. So subscribe to my podcast at www.rwranching.com and have a great rest of the week and may God bless you.